Oh, that might be it too. Hey, good evening, Miss Boyd. Good evening, Fred.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes, hi, Miss Hilton.
Okay, that's funny. I just realized my volume was all the way down.
I still heard you.
Hilarious.
How you doing, Miss Hilton?
Good in yourself?
Good. Can't complain.
Right.
Well, I hope you have a wonderful holiday, Miss Hilton. If I don't get a chance to say that at the general.
Thank you. You too. Hope everyone, we get to enjoy a holiday.
And relax.
The best way we can.
Yes, exactly.
I hope you get some time off. You deserve it. You worked really hard this year.
Well, thank you. Hey, Miss Brian.
Hello to everyone.
Hi.
Hey, Miss Almanor, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you.
Okay. Got cut off yesterday. I missed some of the meeting, but I have came back.
I know. I saw you were having some connection issues.
Oh yes, my internet keeps dropping. Then I have to find out what's happening.
You have Optimum?
No, actually, I just switched over to Fios.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know. I may have too many things running on that internet because I have a lot of stuff running on it. So I may need more bandwidth.
Maybe.
Yeah, television, alarm, all kind of stuff running off the internet. So, but Zoom take a lot of bandwidth. That's the problem because you're using both sound and visual.
Yeah.
So that it takes a lot of bandwidth. So, so I gotta talk to them and find out I can get it boosted. Because I can turn the stuff up. I can turn my alarm off. I cannot turn the camera off and all that other stuff that's still running in there.
Right. You need it all, right?
And I need it all because all these days, wherever you go, you want to be able to see what's going on.
Right.
Okay. Oh, I'm a little early today. Oh, we're about to start soon, I guess.
Yes.
I just want to say that I would like to be able to speak, and that a time be set aside for the community to be able to speak before there's any action by the executive board to go into executive session, if that is going to happen.
Okay, Ms. Boyd. I
So
think
Going on.
I'm putting my
Hopefully, I'll
tips
get
in
to this
first.
thing and get this thing done soon.
I gotcha. I hear you.
Hey, night, everybody. Mia, it's Amy. I put something in the chat as well about just wanting to speak for like a minute or two. I can raise a hand, but I didn't know if you saw that.
I believe the chair is going to provide the opportunity. He just may
Oh,
have
okay. All right.
stepped away from his computer for a second,
Uh,
but he'll be
Okay,
back.
thank you.
No problem.
In the meantime, let me do this. Where is? There it is. Inbox. Um, sent.
Hey, Vivia.
I just put something in the chat, a quote from the community board bylaws, Article 11, Section B, that governs search committees and their role. Ms. Hilton, you might want to have the bylaws available. So people might want to refer back to them to ensure that I copied it correctly. But there might be some discussion around the community board's bylaws. Anyway, I'm bringing that up anyway.
Got it. Thank you, Ms. Boyd.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
What time are we gonna start the meeting?
The chair put a message in the chat. We should be starting in another minute or two.
Oh, I didn't see it.
How are you, ma'am?
Miss Williams.
Yes,
Miss Williams.
I haven't heard that voice in a while.
This is
Hey,
Wow.
Miss Williams.
this is she.
Very good.
How are
Okay,
you
I
feeling?
didn't see Fred's comment. Where's Fred's comment? I don't see it.
You have to
She's
scroll
still
up,
here.
Vivian.
I am scrolling up.
She's still here. Kobik didn't catch her, didn't get her good, baby. I'm here.
Yes. Glad to hear.
Thank the Lord. How you guys doing?
Good. Good to hear from you, Miss Williams.
Yeah, I'm here.
Miss Williams, you still have a lot of work left to do. You know?
Okay. I'm still sitting here with a breathing tube, but believe me, it's getting better every day. I'm still on the oxygen, but it's getting better every day. So,
Where's Khalid? I like that picture. he's adventurous. That's nice. I like that.
Hi, Vivi. Yes, that's California.
Nice. I need to take a vacation myself.
Yeah,
Where is
definitely
the
before
East?
they shut down all travel to any state. So definitely get in your vacation.
Hi, Fred. I'm glad to see that we're ready.
Fred is there?
We can't hear you.
You're muted.
Oh, he mute me. Okay.
He's muted,
I'm
Miss
sorry, I'm
Williams.
muted on my phone. Can you hear me now?
He's mute me because he don't love my voice anymore.
No, he was muted, Miss Williams.
No more Red. He don't love Red anymore, huh?
No, Red is still one of my favorites. It's so good to hear your voice, Ms. Williams. So good to hear your voice.
Thank you. It's good to hear yours too. God is good, my dear.
All the time.
Yes.
Okay, so then on that note, we're going to call the meeting to order. Time is now 7:11 p.m. So we're going to begin. Number one on our agenda is welcome. I want to thank everyone for joining us for the Executive Committee meeting for the month of December 2020. We have a number of items that we're going to try and cover with regards to, I guess, wrapping up, well, actually going through some of the good work that our committees have been doing, as well as talking about some next steps for a number of activities that the board has already undertaken. So without further ado, we're going to continue on. I believe item number 2 is committee reports. Is that accurate? Yes, committee chair check-ins. So in no particular order, let's see who I see. Alejandra, would you be able to lead us off? Do you have a report for housing?
Yeah, for housing, at the last meeting, we had a discussion to the various housing issues that are going on, but one of the committee members came up with the idea of looking up the public list of people in our community board district who are on the lien sale list, and sending them a letter from the CB9 office just to let them know, unless they were unaware, with a list of potential resources. And so we're looking to do that, and we wanted to get an answer if we could use CB9 resources to send out those letters. I believe it was a total of about 60 people. So it wouldn't be a difficult thing to do. And then, we were talking about particularly the reauthorization for the lien sale that's coming up for a vote, and then particularly third-party transfer issues. And so that's what came up. And then at the very last thing was we're also discussing, the upcoming certification for 960 and how we would run the meeting to make sure that we allow for maximum public input. because we anticipate, we regularly have maybe 6 or 7 folks in the housing committee meeting, and we anticipate if we do hold a meeting discussing 960 after certification, we'll have quite a large number of people. And so making sure that we're adequately prepared. We wanted to have kind of a similar training in January for homeowners that we did for tenants in October, but given 960, we wanted to kind of keep the space open in case we have to spend the whole meeting specifically on that topic. And since the ULURP committee was after, and those documents came out, I'm planning on January to bring to discussion the what the plans are for the number of affordable units, and to see to see if we can take a look and have public input on that particular component. Beyond that, so that's it for housing. For district manager search committee, we had the special.
Well, hold on. Actually, before you go on with the DM search, I did have a question. I think it might have come up in the ULURP. Would your committee also be able to look at, because I think it was a question with regards to the actual local median income, I guess as opposed to the area median income, just in terms of the examination of affordability?
Yeah, what we can do is I can take a look at census tract data, which would list the actual median income for these neighborhoods versus what the AMI is listed. And from my understanding, most of the AMI that was listed for the affordability was like 80%, which is like already significantly higher than what people here make. And so that's already not affordable for the people in our community.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Well, before we go on, so are there any questions with regards to the housing committee? The housing committee chair. Seeing and hearing none. Okay, Alejandro, as long as we got you on deck, if we would discuss the DM search. So
for the DM search committee, we finalized pretty much the process. We're in the final stages. We had our special meeting yesterday of the full community board, where the community board got an opportunity to meet our final 4 candidates. We were hoping to have the vote this Thursday, but we understand because of Hanukkah and quorum issues, which we ran into yesterday, the vote may not occur Thursday, which is fine, but I think it still gives everyone a large opportunity to review resumes, review the video from last night and prior interviews. And I think this will be the most transparent process that we've had so far, where people have had the most opportunity to engage with and have an understanding of the candidates for the district office.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the chair of the DM search?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, hold on, we'll get to you. Are there any board questions?
Yes, I have one. When we vote, are we gonna vote like, how are we gonna vote?
So I need to work with me on that, but my understanding is we can set up the similar system that we had for the executive committee, where it would be an external website sent to everybody to their email at a certain time, and then it would close at a certain time, and then it would be ranked choice. So you would just list each of your preferences from 1 to 4, and the most preferred candidate would win by the whole board.
And we submit it like we did into, I don't know if I don't remember how we did it, but I know we submitted it. I think we submitted it to the community board day, and then they counted it up some kind of way.
Yeah, so there's various voting. There's Google Forms, there's SurveyMonkey. I think it was SurveyMonkey that was used. and you just create the questions and you rank them and it automatically tabulates everything.
Okay.
Now, I do have a question with regards to.
Oh, hi,
Sorry?
Fred. And I was going to I just want to confirm something, so I can confirm it with Alejandra as the chair, but so this is a good time. When we ended the meeting yesterday, I'm just not certain where we left it. So I just want to confirm that the search committee has 4 qualified, diversified candidates that we're going to put before a full board for voting, whether it's Thursday or postponed to January. But that's my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes, there are 4. It is my position that, you know, we do not exclude any candidate because our recommendation that we voted as a committee was to advance 4 candidates for consideration by the full board. I believe there was some talk yesterday of excluding one or having a vote during the executive committee. I am against excluding anyone that we've selected. We've engaged in a thorough process, vetting these candidates, interviewing these candidates, and I believe you know, the committee process should be followed, and our recommendation should go forward. If any particular member does not like a candidate or does not feel that a candidate is fully qualified, they are free to vote against them at the full community board.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Alejandra, I do have a question with regards
Excuse me, Fred.
to.
This is Warren. How are you?
Hi, Warren.
Alejandra, the bylaws which Alicia has posted, which we appreciate.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you, Warren.
I'm sorry, can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay. There is no ranked voting. The bylaws that we have and have been posted on our chat room dictates the process that we go through. So in order to do ranked voting, we would need a bylaw change.
That's not true. There's no.
Alicia, this isn't discuss with you, okay?
It doesn't say anything about a particular type of voting.
Okay. Order of the day. We need to be recognized in it before we speak. But
Well,
Alejandra,
he said Alicia.
But Alejandra,
would you mute her, please?
But Alejandra, I do have a question. Following up on Warren's point, I do have a question with regards to how ranked choice would work. So with a ranked choice voting, what are we taking from that? So in terms of whoever gets the top vote, or
right?
Okay,
so
my understanding of ranked choice voting is okay. So it's whoever gets the most cumulative votes. Is it for just number 1, or if you got the most number 1 and number 2 votes?
So the traditional method is the instant runoff. So essentially, everyone ranks their top choice. Let's say the first candidate gets 55%, then it's a mix for the other 3. There is no ranked choice, that candidate wins because there's a majority, clear majority. Now, let's say you have one candidate. Now, in another situation, you end up with a candidate with 40%, and then the votes split between the other 3. And then the least vote getting candidates, like let's say they have 10%, their votes, their first place votes then drop to the second place and is added to the other candidates until one clears 50%. So it really depends. It can be one round or it can be multiple rounds, but essentially it locks that in. And that's the system that the city is using for city council. And that's the system that's been used in Maine, and is kind of the gold standard in terms of ranked choice. I've used it on other committees, not with the city, but in my professional associations, when I was at the Bar Association, we used that to select awardees for our annual award. And we never had an issue.
We normally don't vote like that. We normally vote for who we want. We don't go 1, 2, 3, 4 like that.
Exactly.
Right. We need to vote how we normally vote. Whoever it is, let's vote for them.
That's right.
The concern is that if we end up with somebody who only pulls a plurality, let's say, with 4 votes, somebody pulls 28% and they win with 28% of the vote. That can be particularly concerning because it feels like that person doesn't have the popular support necessary to win the district manager. This is exactly the same way if you imagine it this way. If you did different rounds of voting and you voted 4 separate times, that's exactly the same way that this works. It just all goes in at once. And it's to ensure a majority. I know before the issue was that no one had a clear majority, and that may be an issue. You know, and the other thing is I wanted to avoid having potentially 3, 4, 5 different rounds of voting because we may vote to exclude candidates or remove the one that we feel is the least qualified. And I'm just trying to avoid a lot of unnecessary votes and complications during the process and getting it out of hand. It would just be more simplified. Everyone can list their preference. If one candidate gets 60% on the first vote, then it works just like any other system. This is only in the event that one candidate does not get 50%. We are able to quickly ascertain who would get the most support out of the board. And it's to prevent, you know, an issue where nobody gets a clear majority.
Alejandra, it's Warren.
I don't agree with that.
Hold on one second, please. Our bylaws prescribe a very discreet way of doing this. I'm certainly not against right voting, but I don't think we have the power to implement at this moment. The basic thing is that what the bylaws say is that the committee presents 3 people or more, and then they're voted on. If it can't be decided, the committee should present more people, and by ranked voting, you're eliminating that. So while I respect it, and I think we should really consider a bylaw change in the future, I don't feel it's within the bylaws at this point.
Can we get an opinion from Corporation Counsel to clear it? I mean, if it's good enough for the city council, this is how we're voting in June for the city council and for mayor. I can't see why it wouldn't be an option for the community board.
Warren, hold on. Warren,
no, I just want to continue for a second.
Well,
I want to continue.
Briefly.
Alejandra, as I said before, I'm not against the concept. But what I'm saying is that you're bringing it up at the last minute. And it obviously differs from our bylaws. So you can get whatever opinions you like, but the question is very specifically stated. And once again, I'm not against it, but it certainly goes against the process. Thank you.
Well, I'm against it, and I think that we need to follow with the bylaws of what we've been doing. Let's vote for the most qualified person, period. We don't need to go 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, moving forward, the only thing that the city have in place is ranked choice voting. That's what's gonna be the future. So we might as well start doing that right now because that's the way it's gonna go moving forward. So let's start here.
We're not voting for the city.
Order of the day. I would ask for members. I would ask for all the members, please, to be recognized first before we speak. We need to make sure that we're going in an orderly fashion. So Pat, finish your point, and then I do have a comment I want to make.
Oh no, that was my. I just wanted to follow the rules that we normally follow. I don't see any reason to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. If there's somebody that the whole board agrees on, then we need to go with that person, and then the other people are just out of a job at that point. Yeah. If that person turns down, because if that person turns down a job, then we can vote again for another person.
Well, okay, thank you. Now, the point I would like to make with regards to this is that while I understand the city has adopted ranked choice voting as a method for voting for the elections, for the mayor and for the city council, we also have to understand that there's a reason why that they've opted that way as well, because runoffs are expensive and there's a cost factor that has been built, that goes along with that, as well as the time and everything else that goes in. So I think from that perspective, yeah, it probably makes sense. I mean, we'll see how that works out. With regards to the board, however, I think, one, we have the advantage of much smaller. Two, I think by not locking ourselves into ranked choice voting, we don't have to create a majority where there may not necessarily be one. I think that we should be voting up or down, whether it's, let's see if a candidate gets 51%, or at least work through the voting process to see if we're able to whittle that down. I think that's something that can be accomplished within the confines of a meeting in terms of determining if there is a candidate or candidates who are more appealing, and we can make decisions based on that perspective. But as opposed to locking it into ranked choice, which may create a majority, at least numerically, where it's like, okay, well, listen, it's not somebody said, I voted for this person, but they were my second choice. And I don't think we should create a majority vote based on somebody's second and third choices, which would most likely happen with ranked voting.
Sure, if I may. My concern is with 4 candidates, the likelihood of any one candidate getting a majority is likely slim. Even between the 5 of us on the committee, we all feel that these are all qualified. We all have our personal feelings about who we think is the better candidate. What my concern is that we end up with a situation where we vote, we take the 15 minutes to a roll call, or we do the system to get the vote. No one candidate ends up with the majority. And if we're running out of time or anything, that may get kicked for another month to vote again, or we then do a revote to whittle down our candidates, and then it could just descend into parliamentary chaos. And and my concern is that we're going to end up with a situation where nobody can get a clear majority because we're constantly presenting candidates with multiple candidates 4 at a time, and without everybody knowing everything, it's going to end up with nobody ever being able to get a clear majority. We're setting it up. It's set up for failure. The other point about forcing a majority is that we can include an option within ranked choice that says none of the above. If the clear majority of everyone says none of the above, then the committee will go back to its work and find more candidates. That is an easily remedied problem. But like I said, my biggest concern, and the one that I really dread, is the situation where our work as a committee over the past 3 months is for naught because we can't get to a majority because we have 4 candidates. Even if a candidate got 49% of the vote, that's not 50 plus 1, and then we have to go and revote again. And we, and I don't know how many times we have to redo it, and then we have to get into parliamentary moves where we try and remove the person with the least votes. And we ended up in our last committee meeting in a discussion for, we quickly approved 3 of them unanimously. There was a 4th candidate that we disagreed about, and that took up the vast majority of our meeting. And my concern is that if somebody is really sold on a candidate and we decide, well, that's the least vote getting, or we want to remove them and move down to 3, there's going to be a long discussion, and it could end up enveloping the whole meeting. And that's my concern and my fear that will happen. When I first started here on the community board, that's exactly the situation that happened, with nobody getting a majority. And that's my overriding concern for this process. And that is the only reason why I suggested the ranked choice. It also coincides with the fact that the city's moved to it. I think that you should check with Corporation Council just to double check that we can do it. I believe we can. The bylaws do not prescribe a manner of voting. It prescribes that the community board must vote. So I don't think it's outside of the, we can formally adopt a motion to and do ranked choice voting for this particular vote. And I don't think that would violate any laws or bylaws or anything, because we're still determining, we're still casting our votes. It's just an instant runoff system.
Well, you would have to get the approval of the entire board to even do something like that. And ranked voting, and the reason I disagree with it is because I may not like any of them, but one. And if we like none of them, we should have that choice.
Yeah.
I don't want to rank
I-
number 2 and then I end up, let's just say, you end up with number 2 vote. We don't want number 2.
And I don't
Let
disagree.
me
And I
just-
don't disagree with you.
Let me just finish. Let me just finish. Let's just say the whole board only likes one person. The board has the right to choose that person. The board has the right to vote all 3 of them down.
Right.
So they don't have to take any of those other people.
Right. And we can
But
have an
let me
option.
finish. But when you rank us, then you rank us 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have to choose number 2. I don't want to choose 2, 3, or 4.
Right.
So in that situation, you can choose, if you really like one, you can put that as your top, and then you say, well, I don't like anybody else, so my number 2 is none of the above. And that is an option. And if the vast majority of the board feels the exact same way and nobody gets majority, and then it moves to the second choice, and none of the above wins, then it's none of the above. That's an easily fixed problem. We don't have to force a majority. It can just be none of the above.
All right. In the interest of moving the agenda, this looks like this is something that we probably do need to have some more conversation with regards to. And the point was made, and I think that is true in terms of, I think before we actually go into that section of the process, the board should vote in terms of if we're going to do it by a ranked choice method, or at least have some agreement in terms of how the vote is going to take place. But we do have an opportunity to do that. We do have the general board meeting that's coming up, and even when we do call the special meeting for that second set of interviews, there is an opportunity before we actually go into session to actually adopt that in an open floor. So we can adopt the method of voting, and we can and implement that when we get in advance of that. So Alejandra, if you and the committee would actually just develop a plan in terms of how that would work, we can do that, and we can make sure that it's queued up so that way if we decide to go with it, we're ready to roll. If we decide to go by an alternative method, we'll be ready to roll. But I think that that's something that we do have a little bit of time to still do some discovery in terms of finding out what the board's pleasure is going to be with that, making a determination. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions for the data search committee chair?
Vivia has her hand up, and then Ms. Boyd.
That's fine. Okay, Vivia? And we're going to conclude on this board. Then we'll move on.
I think Alejandra sums it up basically what I was gonna say, because we've been doing this for such a long time and no one is going to have the same candidate in mind. So everyone have a different candidate. It's up to us to choose. Me particularly, I have 3 candidates that I like. You know what I mean? So it's best for everyone to have that option of choosing number 1. This is my favorite. Number 2, number 3. So the search committee did their job by providing these 4 candidates to us. They probably had 100 applications, but they've narrowed it down to 4. So why shouldn't we respect that and go ahead and choose the 3 candidates that we like, because we'll never all come on the same page. So I just think it's best for us to do the choices and move on. We need to get this done as soon as possible already.
Thank you, Vivia. Ms. Boyd.
It's clear from the conversations that some of the board members are not even familiar with ranked choicing or even know what that means. And so I think that it would be important that some information be given to the board members so they understand what it means. Let's be clear, we have watched this board time and time again, not have a majority, things break down, yelling starts, meeting gets closed. The ranked choice voting would eliminate all of that chaos and actually come up with a candidate that would have 51%, because you have to have 51%. So my suggestion, because it's very clear that some people do not know what ranked choice voting is, my suggestion is that not only do you set up a system to possibly have ranked choice voting, but you also submit some detailed pamphlets or information about ranked choice voting to all of your board members so they do know what they're talking about when they open their mouth, because clearly some of them don't. Thank you. Also, just one other thing, I did look through the bylaws. There's nothing in the bylaws that state a particular way in which the committee or the board has to vote. The only thing the city charter demands is that 51% of the committees must vote in order for the decision of the board to be held as a final determination. So if you get 49.9% for one candidate, that candidate cannot be the district manager. You have to have 51%. Thank you.
Agreed.
All right, so that we're going to move on to the next committee. Ms. Moses, I see you on the line. Do you have a report for Euler?
Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so we met in December, and we got a lot of materials from Department of City Planning that we are basically reading right now for 960, and it involves a lot of reports and a lot of reading, and I'm really kind of halfway through it. Now, I'm not quite sure, you know, if that's going to be the same materials once they are certified. But meanwhile, we can read it and discuss what goes on. We also submitted our minutes as requested that we're supposed to submit every month. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 12th at 7 p.m. So basically, I'm not sure if anything will take place until after the holidays, to be very honest with you. So we'll play that by ear. And that's basically all. And Alicia, none of us are dumb. We know what rank we know what rank voting is. We're not dumb. Okay, so
I did not say
like some people don't know. Everybody should know what rank is. Like voting.
Order of the day. So Pat, that concludes your report, or did you have any additional items for you?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for the chair of Euler with regards to the committee?
Yes, there was a motion on the floor to pass that the chair would submit a request for the declaration agreement. Did that request get processed and given to DCP, the Department of City Planning?
That has not yet. I will speak with the ADM and we'll get that text drafted and we'll send that out.
Do you know when?
As soon as we can have a conference and draft the letter. Go out. Thank you. Okay, are there any questions for the GOP chair? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Ms. Moses. If we can, Vivia, do you have a report for Parks?
Warren headed the meeting, so I believe that maybe he should go ahead and do the report.
Very well. Warren, do you have anything to report for Parks?
Well, the first thing is that Vivian was at the meeting. So I don't know why she doesn't want to report, but I will report. We had a very good meeting.
I can't hear you, Warren. Can you speak up, please?
Sure. I said that you were at the meeting. You should be able to report, but I'll be happy to report. We had a very good meeting.
Warren, you was the chair for the
meeting. We'll continue. Okay. Order of the day. Warren, continue the report.
This is very simple.
Warren, order of the day. Continue the report, please.
You got it. So as a person who is filling in for the chair, I conducted the meeting, and based on last month's meeting, the Parks, Cultural and Recreation Committee decided that we're going to identify the major institutions in the community and see, based on COVID and the whole thing that people can't go places, is how do we how do we bring this to the community? So our first one was Brick. A woman named Jessica reported. She outlined her program, and there are a number of things that our community can get into virtually. I'm assuming we'll have her deck very soon, and Vivian will recommend when that will happen and what will happen. The other thing I'll report is that our next meeting in January, we're having BVG give an overview of what community outreach programs they have, and we will do the same evaluation. And that's it. Thank you.
Warren, you missed that had a discussion about the parkland alienation and that we're having a subcommittee that's going to look into that.
That's correct. That's correct.
Thank
But I
you.
was really waiting for that subcommittee to take action and then to report.
I'm just saying that should be in the minutes.
Okay. So I don't know that's fine. Thank you.
Very much. Are there any questions for Parks?
Yes.
I see Ms. Boyd. Is there any other questions? I don't see anyone. Okay, so Ms. Boyd, you can ask the question. We'll close on you.
Yes, I didn't realize that the Parks had created a subcommittee on alienation, park alienation. Could you just describe to me what would be the duties and responsibilities of that subcommittee, please?
Not at this point in time, but as it's defined, we will certainly keep you in the loop.
So you created a subcommittee, but you didn't tell them what to do?
No, Alicia, the way that, most committees work is that you create a committee, the committee identifies its objectives, where it wants to go, then the full committee considers that, and we move forward.
Yes, but you normally give directions to the subcommittee about.
No, actually not. No, actually, the
Okay.
subcommittee is in charge of what they do.
Okay, Warren, we understand. We understand that you
Thank
don't
you,
have any
Alicia.
clue. We understand you have no
Say
clue.
that again?
Okay, thank you very much for the report. Parks, we'll speak offline with regards to the Parkland Alienation Subcommittee, and we'll discuss the charge in terms of what work is expected from the subcommittee and how that'll roll up into the Parks Committee, okay? We'll pick that up separately and we'll discuss it. Apologize, just trying to see what other chairs are present. Carmen, I'm sorry, I didn't see you until now. Do you have a report of transportation?
Yes. Are you able to hear me?
We hear you, but there's an echo. Do you have two mics on, or are you getting feedback?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes. But we heard you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. The Transportation Committee had a meeting. We were joined by Mr. Carl Cohen, the developer of the project on Nostrand and Montgomery, the representative from Department of Transportation, as well as his architects for the development. We had extensive discussion about the Clove Road project. As it was explained by DOT, Carl Cohen submitted the proposal for the Clove Road Plaza as part of the DOT Plaza program, Street Plaza program. They accepted his proposal. It's going to be fully funded. The construction aspect will be fully funded by DOT. The maintenance and upkeep of the plaza will be done by Carl Cohen, I guess, as part of his development. They will be in charge of putting the furniture out, putting the furniture away during closing time. They will be setting up a schedule of operation for the plaza. There are other issues that were not addressed as of yet. So they're supposed to come back to the January meeting to give us further details because of the fact that we had a property owner from Malbone Place attend our, not this meeting, but the previous meeting, and raise concerns about the fact that they were not aware of the project. They were not given the opportunity to give input as to how it's going to affect their parking situation, as well as their property, since it's, is abut to the plaza. So they're supposed to come back, give us further detail, and also later on in January, which we were trying to do it during the January meeting to just make it a whole meeting / workshop for community residents to come and give their input. But they apparently need more time and have to gather more information in order to do their workshop. So the workshop will be done at another time. Mr. Cohen described his project in detail. It seems they're going to be a museum in the development on the first floor. There's going to be office space, medical unit, a medical office for the community, and I believe it's 56 apartments. I don't remember exactly if that was what was said. But we did have discussion. Members raised concern about the fact that the board was not brought into the loop when they decided to accept this proposal, in view of the fact that they have basically cut off all communication with us during the time that Mike Cetera and then have submitted their proposal, which, from what I see, it is basically identical to what was already submitted and what was accepted. So there will be follow-up on the Clove Road project in our January meeting. And then after our meeting later on, there will be a DOT will be holding workshops to allow community residents to give their input on the project. We were supposed to give further update on the Empire Boulevard Reconstruction project, but DDC's representative was not at the meeting. We did get some details earlier today about the concern that was raised was the exit out of Western Beef, the Washington Avenue exit, once they closed that triangle, how that was going to affect the exit, because there was fear that they would try to relocate that exit to particular to Sterling Street, which is a residential street. Well, based on what they sent us today, it looks like the exit on Washington Avenue will still be there, as well as the one on Empire Boulevard. But they are also supposed to come back in January and give us further details about that project. So as of now in January, for our January meeting on January 6th, we will have Clove Road on the agenda, Empire Boulevard reconstruction. And we also had a request from Boy, the people that are dealing with the e-scooter program for the city of New York. They will be coming also in January to make a presentation about that project. That is my report.
Okay, thank you very much, Carmen. Are there any questions for the Chair of Transportation?
Fred, it's Amy. I have a bunch of questions regarding Clove Road. I could just rattle them off and put them in the chat. And then if there's like a FQA or something like that, that could be provided, because I didn't know. First, is there a rendering of that project on Nostrand and Montgomery?
They did not give us, there's a rendering, but it's not really like.
Yeah, Carmen, you sound a little bit low, or is it just me?
No, it's hard to hear. Sorry. Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, now we do.
Right. There's a PowerPoint presentation that they had, and it had a rendering of the project on not on Montgomery, on Nostrand Avenue in Montgomery. They have, they're talking about having a statue to commemorate the war. There's like a reflection pool. underground parking. They were, that they did not really give us specific because the whole idea was on Clove Road, not on the project itself. So we did not get, all of the particulars, just enough as to how it relates to Clove Road.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put this in an email, but how tall is that? I mean, it sounds like a very large building. I live close to that, so I'm familiar with the site. But is the supermarket going away as well, and they're using that space, or is it just the one that's raised right now, where what do you call it? Used to be, that restaurant used to be?
No, the supermarket is not being affected because actually one of the things that they have to work around is how they're going to be able to get the truck deliveries to Associated, because the deliveries are done through Clove Road. So that's why I say there's a lot of little things, there's a lot of things that they have to break down and figure out how they're going to work once Plaza is created.
How many stories is that building then? Because it sounds pretty large with all these amenities you were talking about, like the medical center, the museum, or reflection pool. How tall is that building?
Well, I know they're going down 3 levels. That they talked about. They're going down 3 levels. It's 56 apartments, so it's a pretty large lot. And I gather, and I'm just hoping we can ask those questions as when they come back.
So you don't know stories it is? I mean,
hello?
The one across the street, I think is 10, or I think it's 10.
Right. So I was gonna say it's more than likely the same height, as the one across the street as of right.
But this is the first. I mean, I know that they started construction on that about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I mean, Pat's on the phone. Has Euler looked at this or done anything about it, or has it been put before Euler?
It's an as of right project. They don't have to come to Euler. But if you look in NIMBY or YIMBY, whatever the hell, the drawing, the whole description of the project is in NIMBY.
NIMBY. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi. I have a
question. Okay, hold on. Before, let me just, we need to make sure we're moving. So, Vivian, I see you have a comment. Ms. Boyd, I see you as well. Is there anyone else?
I have a question too. This is Felice.
Felice? Okay, so, so Vivian, okay, Ms. Boyd, Felice. Were there any other questions? Okay, and we're going to close on Felice after that. Vivian, go ahead.
Okay, so Amy, I could tell you that the building is going to be the same height as the one across the street.
Okay.
So I don't think they're going up higher than that one. And on the it's I think it's a great addition to the community because they have a historical they have artifacts that's coming in. They have a museum that's gonna be there. So I think that would be a great addition to these so-called affordable housing that they're putting all over the place.
Are they keeping the cobblestones? Because when they did some work there a couple of years ago, they had to remove them.
No,
but it was
they're
a big
keeping
issue.
the cobblestones.
Okay,
they're
good.
not going anywhere.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
They are keeping the cobblestone because we brought up the fact that DOT stopped communicating with Board 9 because they did not want to preserve the cobblestone.
Right.
But the developer and the architect assure us that they are going to preserve the cobblestone.
Okay, good.
Okay. Ms. Boyd. You have to unmute yourself.
Yes. If this is an as of right, it appears that they're coming for money, however, because clearly no one bothers with the community board when they have a development that's as of right. So what money are they asking for and who are they asking the money from? The city, the state, or the feds?
Money for?
For the development. Because clearly they're asking for money because otherwise why bother with all of this? somebody's asking for money somewhere, because nobody comes to a community board with an as of right development unless money is involved. So
Oh, if I may, and Carmen, you clean it up if I'm incorrect. My understanding is with this Clove Road project, what they're doing is they're building a street plaza. The street plaza program is something where to create a community space. So that area of Clove Road, what they're proposing, if my understanding is correct, and Carmen will, the chair will correct me where I'm going wrong, is that they're talking about creating a public space there that will be funded by DOT. So that construction is done by DOT.
okay.
The maintenance of the street plaza is usually done by a community partner. So to my understanding, it sounds like Carl Cohen is going to be the community partner in his development, will be the community partner that maintains the street plaza. So they'll make sure there's garbage cans cleaned up, it doesn't just, just get dilapidated. So they'll be the community partner that takes care of that. Carmen, is that accurate, or do you have anything else you need to add?
that is correct, because normally with the plaza, it's in the bids. There's always a community partner. So Carl Cohen is DOT's community partner when it comes to the maintenance. Once they build it, it's up to him to preserve it. Make sure that it's clean, make sure that the furnitures are put away at a proper time, make sure that it's closed when it's supposed to be closed, and things like that.
So Carl Cohen is getting money for maintaining the plaza?
Well,
no, he's paying to maintain the plaza. I don't know where he's getting it from, but he's paying. I'm sorry.
Well, that is his property. So obviously he's got money. That's his property, and he probably has the investors investing in his project. We did not get into that because again, our whole discussion was about Flow Road, not his project, because that's not a Parks Department issue. We were just concerned about the plaza, how it came to be, how it was that Board 9 was left out of the negotiation. So they answered all of the questions. There's still the issues of the homeowners that hopefully they'll be able to provide us information in January in terms of those residents of Malbone and how their properties are going to be affected.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we have a last question from Felice Robertson, and we're going to close up. Felice?
Yes, hello everyone. I wish everyone well. My question is geared towards Western Beef and that triangle. I still don't understand why they have chosen to close the triangle. Is that designed to get rid of Western Beef and build a complex of some sort there? I don't understand. What is the motivation for that? I'm asking this question is because Mr. Baptiste, I had sent you a copy of a recent accident that occurred on Sullivan, and this is a common occurrence. And I've asked over and over again to have a speed camera there of some sort, something that will protect the community, and that has not been a topic. And by the way, this has been going on for years. How many years? Let's say that 6 or perhaps 8 years now. That's a damn shame.
You're absolutely correct.
Is
and
the question?
I did. Well, let me start this, and then actually, I think it'll probably end up being in your place department. So, Felice, first of all, I did receive your message. I apologize, I haven't gotten back to you sooner. If you can, actually, I would ask. Carmen, would you be able to look into the issue about speed cameras on Washington, because there has been an issue and there've been a number of accidents.
The speed camera?
In the past, yeah, speed camera or whatever other speed curbing, traffic calming measures they can put over there.
The speed camera, Felice, if you can recall, we dealt with the issue of the speed camera. It was sent to Keith Gray. He responded. All of the pictures that police has supplied of the car accident, cars on top of the light pole, running up on the sidewalk, and all of that was provided to Keith. And his
Carmen, your mic is going low.
I know. I always have a problem with this mic. Is it that you hear an echo or you don't hear me at all?
Like you fade out, you get really low.
So the whole thing was that it's a budget issue, which is the reason why when we do our need assessment, we ask people for what is needed in the community. That the speed camera have to be part of the budget request that the board submit. Those items are funded through the state. And we did submit it through the budget, not just for that, but for other areas that need it. Uh, the commissioner's position was that the speed camera is located on Washington Avenue where the schools are, off Eastern Parkway. There's already a speed camera there. So as funds become available, they will take the Montgomery, Washington, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, was the area that we requested the speed camera for.
Carmen, if I could request this, if you could add that particular item to your agenda for January, and if it's possible, if we can get a resolution from your committee, we can raise it to the board, and I want to pass that on too. I believe that that's part of the 35th, correct? I think we need to raise that to Lori Cumble's office and see if we can get funding on that side.
Right.
So if you could do that, we'll just run that up the chain and we'll make sure that that's the letter that goes out with regards to that.
Will do.
Okay, thank you very much. So Felice,
I
Carmen's gonna
really
take
do
this up.
appreciate that. And
No, absolutely.
okay, and then for the other question about the triangle, I just don't understand, what was the motivation of closing this triangle that works so well for the community?
Well, if you recall way back, I believe 2013, 2014, 2015, when they were coming back and forth with that issue of the triangle, and there's so many, they claimed there was so many accidents, it was a safety hazard, and all this other stuff. The reason they gave at that time was that it was to be a green space, open space. And it was like really like a block away from Prospect Park. You need green space a block away from Prospect Park. But that is the guy that they pushing this under. It's going to be green space, and it's supposed to have benches, and there's going to be trees. So it's kind of like another plaza. That's what DOT is presenting it as.
Well, is there any way to have a pushback on this? Because I think that vein of the street is vital. It keeps the traffic flowing. And as I mentioned before, where we are having accidents, that's not even being addressed. So perhaps there's some other motive or motivation in closing this. Are they really designing or trying to make a pathway to close Western Beef? Is this their motivation in closing that pathway? I mean, I was raised, all my life here, and I've never, in my young years of traveling, going to Empire Roller Skating Ring and hanging out, okay, have we ever occurred any accidents there?
All of that was debated. They presented data, and at that time, the members of the Transportation Committee, countered their data with information from the 71st Precinct. This is something that it's a long history with this triangle. This is not something that they just say, we're doing this year. This is a project that has been going back and forth. They shut us down when protest was made, when we were like, no, we don't need it closed. There's like 12 parking spaces that's going to be gone. There's a lot of records on the board, police, that you might want to look up of everything that was done with regard to that project through 3 different transportation committee chairs and different committees. And then DOT just went away and said, that's it. We're not having any more discussion. There was I believe there was also a discussion about the funding. Alicia, you might, I think somebody spoiled information about the funding. Because they said it was done during Major Owens. There was monies coming from all over for that project. So this is not something that just came up in 2019, 2020. This has been going on for years and years and years.
Yes, I'm aware of it. I've been on the committee for those many years. But I'm
Yep.
afraid that I'm afraid that there is some sort of hidden agenda, and I'm afraid that this may impact upon Sterling Street, and the houses and the homes that are there. Um, you know, we should not take this lightly. I really am afraid there's more to it than what meets the eyes.
And that we also dealt with those rumors that Westonby was closing. When I reached out to headquarters, they say they have no intention of selling and that they have no intention of closing. That was also an issue. And we communicated, the Black Association communicated with headquarters, and they denied having interest in selling Westonby to any developers. They said that, they told us they were there to stay.
All right. Just in the
Okay,
interest
thank you
of
for
moving
your
the meeting.
response.
Okay. Yeah, and then there's
Thank you.
the meeting. So, but I think this is something we can definitely continue the conversation. Carmen, I would ask if this is something, if there's any other additional information you can pull up through the transportation, and also the district office. If there's any additional developments, if you just keep us apprised of that as well with regards to that. Okay. Let me see. Moving on, we are going to go. Fran, are you on the line? You have a report for Health and Social Services?
Yes, I do. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Our committee, we met on December 3rd, and we had, and thank you, Mr. Burke, for your support. We had a good representation from the Department of Health. We had the liaison for Department of Aging present with us as well, Kingsborough Jewish Hospital, and other members of the committee. We had a doctor who presented on COVID epidemic, and it was a very, very good presentation. I wish we had more people, but the Department of Aging, they too want to do a presentation for the seniors. And because of the time allotted when we have the general membership meeting, we cannot really have them to present because it's a lot of information, especially from the Department of Health. There's a lot of information that they have when it comes to COVID and the numbers and the preventative measures and the numbers, the breaking down of the numbers when it comes to our community and everything. And then I would like the board, because usually when we have somebody coming in to do a presentation, usually come to our committee, and then we would then bring it to the executive so that they can do the presentation at the general membership meeting. But with this information, we need more time because usually it's just like 15 or 10 or 15 minutes. And we need time, the community needs that message. And we need to give the doctor the time and the other representatives from the Department of Health to give that time. So come January, I would like to use my meeting time, which is the first Thursday of every month. And then with the help of the board to send it out in the community so the community could come to ask questions and to get all the necessary information that they need. And they will also be touching on the mental health because we have a lot of young people, a lot of our young kids who are at home, and some of them, they lost both of their parents and how it's affecting them and everything like that. So they have a wide range of information that they would like to share with the community. So I would like to use a Thursday, and if you chair and the board office want to use a different date so we could have them to do this presentation, because it takes about an hour. And the Dr. Warren was there, and maybe he can give some more insight on this. He was very, very good. The information that given was very, very insightful. And then we also have a representative from the Department of Aging also, who is representing, and she have a lot of information, because some of our seniors, what we find with some of the services that they are not getting, and then some they have been complaining to seniors, they're losing the help, the help that the city usually give them. They have an aid that goes to their homes to help them, to cook it and take care of them. Some of them are losing those hours, and some of them when it comes to the house. And so she have a wealth of information to give also. So we want to give her that space. And at the board meeting, as I said, we didn't have the time because we have a packed agenda, and 10 and 15 minutes is not enough. And also for Kingsborough Jewish Hospital, they did give us, I think maybe Mia could help. I think they did give us about 2,000 masks, but we also want to do, it's very cold outside now. I don't know how we're gonna make this work, but we also want to do a mask distribution also. So they're willing to give us maybe another 1,000 or another 2,000 masks also, with what we presently have to do a distribution in the community. And come January, we also want to look into the homelessness. And if I think most members of the community would have seen that homelessness has, the percentage has increased in our community. And we have even more younger people now on the street because of the epidemic and the loss of jobs and everything. So we want also to work with the Department of Aging to see how we can, solve or how we could help when it comes to this issue in the community when it comes to the homeless stuff that's going on right now. Warren, would you like to elaborate on, since you were at the meeting, you want to share anything?
I can share on the present state of what's going on in our community, not with COVID. Obviously, it's very high. One of the statistics that stick in my mind was that Kings County Hospital tested 45,000 people 2 weeks ago, and 3,000 were positive. So that's a 7% rate. It doesn't mean some of them could be asymptomatic, but it just shows that we really have to be careful. In terms of the hospital itself, for the latest stats, I have a meeting tomorrow, but based on the last meetings, the hospital is prepared as much as they can be prepared. They have 3 or 4 months of PPE on hand. And in addition to that, Health and Hospitals has supposedly quite a bit. So there shouldn't be an issue with that through the whole H&H system. They have really a 5-phase program to deal with this. And right now, out of the 5 phases, they're at phase 2. That could change tomorrow because I'm hearing all sorts of stuff of what's going on, and I don't know what is fact, what isn't, and I'll find that out at my meetings tomorrow. But basically, the 5 phases, and this is the important part, it goes from not a problem to a very big problem. And the operations of the hospital, they've learned a lot. It's very systematic. Right now, they're in phase 2, which means that they are cross-training personnel to bring from certain different divisions to COVID care. One thing that's very important is they've done through H&H a huge amount of building within Kings County, and they've created hot and cold areas. A cold area is where people do not have COVID, and a hot area is where people have symptoms of COVID. And that's done in general ambulatory care as well as Building R, which is the mental health facility. So that's where they are right now. As each phase progresses, the hospital shifts, personnel from what they're doing to caring for COVID. Hopefully we won't reach that level, but we all hear what Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio are saying, as well as Dr. Katz, who's the president of H&H. So, I think this is a very weary time, and we all should pay very close attention to, number one, any symptoms, and number two, doing the protocols to avoid problems with COVID-19. How's that, Francesca?
Thank you much. We also had a question, a concern, because if you look at some of the entrances at Kings County Hospital, so the big building, that entrance is closed, and then the only access building, the D&S building, And then there is the revolving door one side for the employees and one side for people who are going to visit for patients. And then that was one concern, because it's like everybody was on the same line, the staff as well as the visitors who were coming in. So I don't know if
Yeah.
you did look into that,
Yes,
Warren.
I can expand on that. Number one, there's two different things happening. Previously, there were tents in front of the D building for COVID testing. That's now been transferred to the T building, which is right on the corner of New York Avenue and Clarkson. And it's a segregated area where people who are being tested are really, I would say, 2 buildings away from any medical users. In terms of the entrance to the hospital, the directive from the government as well as H&H, which Kings County has to adhere to, is that there has to be one point of entry, and the purpose of that is for control of people who are sick and not sick. So in terms of the staff, while it may be the same line, and I have not been on a line for that, the staff fills out a pass prior to coming in. And when they come in on their app, they show them the approval and they go right up. In terms of patients and visitors, patients is a different thing because that's already done. They're in their system, etc. In terms of visitors, they do go, and I'm just visualizing in my mind, to the right, and they go to a counter where the visitors are processed. They fill out a questionnaire in terms of their recent activity vis-a-vis COVID, and then they're allowed up. One thing that I will tie into the phases that I just said, that I believe when it reaches phase 4, visitors are no longer allowed. So that's what I found out.
So I mean, for the benefit of our community and those online, you know, we just have to be very careful, because there are people when they do go to the facilities, and if you do go to your doctor and wherever that you go, you got to, because some people are not being truthful. Because we had an incident with a young lady who brought her mother to the hospital, and they question her, do you have a headache? You have the usual question that they ask. And then all the answers were no, 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 no. And then when they entered into the facility, and then they start to be triaged, and when they took the mother's temperature, her temperature was very high. And when they tested, she had COVID, and they lied to the they lied to the people and told them that. So we have to be very mindful with that as well, with the how, to take care of ourselves, because some people, they are around us and they're not being careful. Saying that, Mr. Chair, I think that, and maybe Warren can attest to that also, the presentation that was done at our meeting, I think it is a presentation that the community needs to hear. So before our meeting next month, I want to find out a way, because we don't want the doctor to come in and the other persons who came, the other personnel who came with him, to just have a presentation for 10 persons. We would like to, send the information out there so people could come in. And for the benefit of Ms. Boyd, I think the last time we had the meeting, I spoke about having somebody coming into the presentation and the ergonomic awareness. And I have been looking into it. The doctor was supposed to do the presentation. I don't know if the doctor was sick, but I have not been able. And then the community liaison who was connecting me from the Presbyterian Hospital, I have not been able to connect with him. So that's the reason why that information. I know you said when we're about to do the presentation and we had the flyer ready, let you know so that you could invite people, because you have a grandson and you'd like to get that information. So that information hasn't been out. So I just want to let you know it's because I have not been able to connect with the doctor to schedule that presentation. But it's still in the works. So since I have not been able to do that, so I have asked the Department of Health to get somebody else to do that presentation, because it's very important. Because at the rate of how things going, our kids will be home for a while. So when relating to the COVID. That's my
Hi,
report, Mr. Chair.
it's what, can I just add to that? I attended I'm on the mayor's committee, I don't know why, but for the Department of Mental Health, it's called the subcommittee. And we had a meeting this morning and I'll be happy to, once I get the deck, send it to people. Was measuring, it's called HOP, H-O-P. I'm not sure what that means, but it was measuring the anxiety of COVID for people with mental illness. And it was really quite interesting. I thought this applies to everyone because within my own family, I have a grandson who's probably like 4 years old, 5 years old, and you can see the effects that this is having. So this stuff is being done, and as soon as we get information on it, I'll forward it to Francesca, because what I call nervousness, they call anxiety, and it's really happening. And I personally think it's all throughout us. The second thing I want to say is that in terms of people being dishonest, that you can't really account for. But if you feel any symptoms of COVID, go right to the emergency room. All right, on the Winthrop
You know
side of the
that
hospital, and just go in there because you don't need to expose yourself to people waiting for regular service from the hospital. Thank you.
you need to
Yeah,
talk about
and
that.
I am very concerned. Miss Williams, you were saying something?
Yes, I said the symptoms is not the same for everyone. Some people have no symptoms.
Right.
So
right.
these are things
Yeah,
that you have to,
yeah,
the
exactly.
symptoms is very,
Yeah,
very, very subtle. Some people have no
yeah,
symptoms at all, no fever, nothing. So you need someone who's going to go all through the different stages, a doctor or someone who knows that, or someone, not even someone who's been through it. They have to study the whole system to see, because it's very, you could be walking around feeling very healthy and you're carrying it.
yeah, that is true. And Mr. Chair, just before I step off, I'm concerned because I have been trying to, all the senior centers, the majority of the senior centers, they are closed. And I've had reports concerning concerns for the seniors who are at home with COVID, and it's really, affecting them. And we don't know as to how to, to reach them, how to get to their homes and stuff. So I'm trying. I spoke to one of the I think the only person from St. Gabriel I have been able to have dialogue with, and then she's been checking on some of the seniors. But then a lot of our seniors who are at home, this the COVID thing, because some of them, they do live alone. And can somebody mute, Warren, can you mute yourself, please?
Yes.
And
Sorry.
okay. And they do live alone, and they do have health the aides who goes there, and sometimes they don't get this service of full time service or 7-day service. The services are cut, the hours are cut, and a lot of them they're by themselves, and then it's really affecting them mentally. They are most of them they're just alone, and some of them all they have is television. They have no one to talk to. So we have to work with the Department of Aging and people that could really help us as to how we can get to those seniors. So the two areas that I'm very concerned about are our seniors and our young people who are at home, because with One Crown Heights, we had a meeting, and even Rabbi Cohen was talking about it, how some young people have known in the community and how much the COVID epidemic has really worked on them mentally, and it's not a good sight. It's not a good thing. So we have some work to do.
I have a question for you, Miss. Oh Lord, I forget
Go
your
ahead,
name. Yes.
Fran.
So how is it that Miss Williams, a senior, a cancer patient, came down with COVID, and I haven't heard from you, and I was in the hospital for 10 days, come out, I've been in my house now, and
Well, you might have.
and a breathing tube for 2 months, and I haven't heard from you or anyone. How come? Is that how you're doing this?
you have heard from people, so don't say that you haven't heard from anyone. You have heard from people, and I have called you, and then your answering machine came
No,
on.
for this program that
And
you're
when,
doing, I'm talking.
may I speak, please? And then when I couldn't hear, when I spoke to Warren, and I told Warren about it, and Warren said that he spoke to you, then I spoke to Miss Martinez, and she told me that, and
Oh,
she
yeah,
spoke to you, but I did
spoke
call you.
that Carmen
I
had
did
spoken
call you,
to
and I spoke to Mia, and I mentioned it to Mia at the office also.
I have not spoken to you since I have the COVID. No.
Exactly. So I have called you, and your answering machine came on. When I tried reaching you, you were at the hospital.
Okay. I need us to get back to the agenda. I need us to get back to the report, the report, so we can continue. Okay.
Excuse me, Brett, can I say one more thing?
Very briefly, and then we're only going to take a couple questions.
This is going to be so brief. It won't
It's nice
take more
to
than
know that
30
you're
minutes.
doing stuff like that. I wish I knew about it.
Everybody who wants to be tested, the lines at Kings County.
Can't hear you, Warren.
The lines at Kings County for testing, for what I'm being told, are 30 minutes or under. So when I see people waiting on these long lines for the urgent cares and everything else, go down to Kings. It will be very quick, and you get results in like 2 days.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very fast. Very fast.
Okay.
Thank you,
We're
Mr.
going to
Chair.
end on that. No, absolutely. In front, I would say, with regards to your meetings, especially if you know you're going to have guest speakers, let me and the district office know, and we can do what we can in terms of publicizing that, because I think it's very important to make sure that the information is getting out there. The correct information from the experts is getting out there with regards to responses, things, things that are useful information is getting out to the community as well. So as those things come along, just let us know, and we'll do our best in terms of trying to make sure we publicize that, getting out on different channels as well as sharing it with our elected officials who can also put it out on their channels.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, so I'm looking to do it for January. So I'll talk to you on site.
Absolutely. Okay. Are there any other chairs that did not give a report that have a report they would like to give this evening? Okay. Seeing none.
Hi, Warren, do you have any SLA business, Fred?
Excellent question. Mia, do you know if we have any? Actually, we should have a couple of applications that were considered by the committee. Is that correct?
I believe I saw Yakov in the meeting.
Is he here?
But if not, I can make a report when you guys get to me.
Okay. Well, you know what? With that being said, I think you are right on deck. So I think that concludes all of our committee chair reports. We will take the.
I just have a question. I have not heard anything from the committee that's supposed to do environmental protection. I have not heard that they're meeting. He never shows up at the executive board. He never makes a presentation. And now this is December, 4 months into the community board. When are you going to do something about this chair who's obviously not doing his job?
We've already discussed that. So I am going to be chairing the Environmental Protection Committee for January, and we are going to come up with alternative plans with regards to that committee for the upcoming. So that's going to be taken care of. There will be a scheduled meeting that will be publicized on the community board website.
Fred, you are not allowed to chair a committee. Please look at your bylaws.
You can look at the bylaws, and I am allowed to chair a committee. Guarantee you. Guarantee you. Thank you very much. All right, moving on.
Who was the person? I don't even know who it was. I mean, who is the person? I have no clue.
It was Yankee Pearson was slated as the chair. He has not been able to do that. So Yankee Pearson, he's not been able to do it. So I'm going to be chairing the committee in January, and we are going to have more permanent plans after that. All right. So moving on, Mia, do you have an administrative report?
Definitely. So December 3rd, Khalid and I partnered up with Lasante to provide on-site PPE to members of the community who had signed up for antibody and COVID testing. There wasn't a great turnout, so what Khalid and I decided to do with the masks that we brought on site, which were donated by Kingsborough, is that we took them to Nostrand and just walked around the community and just disseminated them down Parkside, down Hawthorne, and stood by the train station as well as the supermarket until we were done. We should be, I believe Daphne will be sending another or organizing another event, which we would do the same. We would initially table for all and hand out masks to all of the community members that come on site to be tested, and then move off and hand out and disseminate masks in the area, in the general area. What else? The website. For the last few days, I've been working with Stephanie Isles from Do It. So we are finally at the end. We're done. We should be live sometime tomorrow, but not for access to the board members. It'll be a day of troubleshooting just to make sure that people are properly redirected from the old site to the new site, and just testing out to see if any bugs pop up before access will be given to the board membership by the end of the week. But we're done. It's pretty good, but there's also space to grow it in terms of having community input, in terms of what they want to design their individual pages to look like, outside of just the basic links to city agencies. Yeah, that's about it. I know Real isn't here tonight. Real is quarantining, but his committee put together an excellent event for Saturday, and hopefully the weather permits. They were able to secure 400 books to disseminate to youth in the community. So Ebbsville is having their holiday flea market, and we'll be on the patio with them between 10 and 4 p.m. If weather permits, to disseminate the books, masks, COVID lit, educational resources to anyone that stops by that day. And also, Primo's not here, but
What day is that? I'm sorry, what day is that again, please?
This Saturday.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Primo's not here, but I want to say that the CB9 Youth Speak Out was excellent. For it to be the first coordinated community event of the session, and the first time the committee actually taken a stab at it, they did great. They had about 30 kids who participated in initial activities, went to breakout rooms. They had youth facilitators, and actually great open discussion. And they'll be having another event, but I believe it'll be based around financial literacy early spring.
Hi, Mia, this is Amy. Where is this book fair on Saturday, or where's the
book giveaway
plaza?
will be on the patio of Ebbsville, which is on Bedford
Oh,
Avenue
okay.
between Montgomery and Sullivan. It'll be on the first level up.
Oh, so it's on the front side, on the Bedford Avenue, not on the McKeever.
It'll be on the patio
Okay.
that faces Rite Aid
Okay.
and TD Bank.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. And I guess I can report for public safety. There were 2 applications in front of the committee for Gladys Venture 2. It was a corporation change. This business actually appeared before the committee in January 2020. It seems like COVID has, the owners that appeared in 2020 has sold the business. I guess they couldn't make it through COVID. They have sold it to a new gentleman. It seems that everything will remain in place in terms of menu, hours, and offerings. So it's just a corporation change. And there is also Bar Bayou. And for Gladys Venture 2, just for a reference point, it is located on the corner of Rogers and Lincoln Place.
So Mia, just to ask a quick question, that's Moe's. So
Yeah.
Moe's changed?
Yeah, Moses, their DBA.
Oh, that's really sad because I really loved Gladys, and I was upset when that closed and not.
Yeah, it's really sad, and it's really sad because these owners, the owners that just sold, they literally appeared in January. and because they had just bought the business and then COVID happened. And the second application is Barfer LLC, which operates as Bar Bayou at 1066 Nostrand Avenue. They're just simply a renewal for liquor, wine, beer, and cider license. To the best of our knowledge, for the information has been provided by PD, FDNY. There are no outstanding issues at either of these sites, and both of the applications were recommended to move forward to the full board by the committee.
Okay.
And I think that's about it.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the assistant district manager? Okay, hold on. We're just going to take a quick list. We do want to move forward. Hold on 1 second. So, Fran, I have you. Are there any other questions? Let me just see if I can hands. Okay, Fran, I'll see you, and then we're going to move on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to Mia, to the board office, because the 23rd of November, we partnered with the 71st% to give out food, and then we met in front of the 71st%. So we had vegetables that we picked up from the borough hall, and then they had turkeys and you know, different box food that was given there. So I just want to say thank you for the help, and also we also had to give out masks also to the people who came to pick up the food. So I just want to acknowledge her.
Thank you, Fran.
Can I say something? I have my hand raised. Is it possible for the board to do a workshop on COVID?
It would be possible, but I would probably say you should direct that through a committee. Most likely, I would probably say you might want to check in with Health and Social Services.
Well, Fran is doing it, but she just said that we didn't have a great turnout, so maybe the board could also have a COVID workshop.
No, that's not what I said. I said that we had our committee, they came to our committee and present at our committee, because that's how we do it. They come, we get the information from them, and then we let the executive know, and then we present it and we go big. So I said that I would not like them to come, and then we only have 10 people showing up. So we want to put it out there, and the chair have acknowledged that, and then they said that the board, they will work with it and send to the electives so that we could have people coming. So that's exactly what we'll be doing. We'll be working with Department of Health to do a COVID workshop.
Okay,
and
very
just as a
very
note,
good.
I'm just, yeah. And just as a note, I mean, for all the committees, I want to thank you for all the work you're doing. And especially to that point where if you have events that you would like to scale up really on that level, where it's something that you would like to make bigger than even just one of your regular committee time, please feel free to develop the idea and talk to, and bring that before the executive committee and the district office. And we'll see what we can do to facilitate that and make that happen as well. Okay. Again, thank you so much, Mia, for your administrative report. And to echo Fran's point, I want to thank you and Khalid for all the work you do in that office to keep it moving. The two of you do phenomenal work, and a lot of people have come back with feedback, really saying that in terms of how you guys are very special people, and you're great civil servants, and you really do you do credit to the community board time, and I want to thank you for everything you did. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to now go into my chairman's report. I've got a couple of items that we've kind of already discussed, but I just wanted to discuss them a little bit. First of all, I think that one of the common themes we've heard is that there is a lot of work being done by our board, a lot of activities. We heard about Health and Social Services. We heard about mask giveaways. We're hearing about, supplies and food being given out. And we've just had our fingers in a lot of different areas in terms of COVID response. So I really want to thank all those community board members. I want to thank our staff members for everything we're doing. I think that, especially in a time like this, we have so many members who have risen to the occasion and are doing fantastic work. And I want to thank you on behalf of Community Board 9 and our community with regards to that. Among the great work we're doing as well, I want to congratulate our Youth and our Youth Services Committee for the successful Youth Speak Out. The word, it's just been electric in terms of some of the responses I've heard about how successful this was. We've gotten young people who've written back to the board talking about this was a fantastic experience, and they're really energized about being, involved with the board more and being involved in the community, which is exactly, I think, one of the aims that we're trying to do. I just want to commend the chair and the committee on fantastic work, and we're looking forward to even more and supporting even more, as we go forward as well as with the education committee with securing those foreign books. I also want to thank the ULURP committee with regards to the 960 Franklin process. Even though the certification has not happened yet, there has been a lot of work that has been done. So on my plate, I do have, I'm going to speak with the district office with regards to that motion with regards to the declaration. We're going to make sure we get that drafted and sent out as quickly as possible. I definitely urge all the committee members, and I urge all board members as well. We do have access to the documents that have been provided by the Department of City Planning to avail themselves of those materials and to really kind of understand, what's been going on in the background for the last couple of years. And I think that as we're going along, we're finding out a lot more as well. At that ULURP, last ULURP meeting, we also had the president of BBG who was there. He was very transparent, and he was really looking forward to working with us as we're having conversations around the project. So absolutely more to come with regards to that. I also wanted to make sure that the board keeps their ears open. As we are getting ready to close this year out, we are also going into 2021, and we are going to be engaged in the budget process. So many of our recommendations had already gone in. We're going to start the process in terms of actually responding with the agency responses, and we're going to be creating responses as well. So we'll have additional activities that we'll be doing around the budget, which we can expect around that January, February timeframe. So I'm just asking for the board and the community to stay, keep their ears open, and information will be coming through the district office with regards to that. Also, with regards to the community board, the application process will be opening up shortly. I mean, it may have actually opened up, but it will be opening up shortly. So for those members of the board, if you are up for reappointment, the window is going to be opening. So you can either apply for appointment through Borough Hall for one of the Borough Hall slots, or you can also apply through your council member in terms of getting one of the council member designated slots as well. And if there are any interested members of the community, you can go to the Brooklyn Borough President's website, and the applications would be available there. We'll also see if we can, and Mia, we can talk about that to see if it's possible for us to get a link up on the brand new website, which, I definitely want to thank you for all your hard work with doing that. Again, I wanted to thank Parks with regards to the engagement with community organizations, bringing BRIC in, again, having the conversation with BBG. I think those are the kinds of relationships that we want to strengthen and deepen as well. We want to make sure that we're engaging partners. We want to make sure that we have a full knowledge of those resources that are out there. It's amazing sometimes some of the things that are accessible only if we make the ask. But part of what keeps us from making the ask is that we just don't know who's out there, and we haven't developed relationships with them. So I'm encouraging all of our committees to continue that work in terms of reaching out and creating those partnerships. And lastly, I just want to discuss the DM search process. Again, I want to thank the DM Search Committee Chair and Committee for all the work that they've done with this. I think that, it really can be, it has been said, and, I think this is the best process that we've had to date. And it really speaks to the hard work and the dedication of all the members that are there. We've gotten to the point where they've gone through over 144 resumes. We are now down to the final 4. Part of what I want to make sure we do is that we have at least an idea in terms of how do we wrap this up. Per the bylaws, the purview of the search committee is to create those 4 candidates, to identify those 4 candidates that come before the board. For our bylaws, we have a a number of options that we can do. We can accept their recommendation. We can refer back to the committee and say, come up with other choices, or we can just say, go back to the drawing board. I think that based on some of the feedback I've heard, I think we have a good pick. We do have some very, very good candidates for which to choose from. I want to make sure that we're able to also bring them over the line. So one thing I would like to discuss very quickly, I know this is an issue with regards to us having that first interview on Hanukkah, during Hanukkah. This was an administrative challenge in terms of trying to get the meeting together, especially during the holiday season. I think we recognized it was going to be tight. So we did make the attempt to try and have the meeting. Definitely no offense was meant to any of the members who are observing religious, observing religious holidays. And we do apologize for the inconvenience, and I know that it's a very tight time frame, and December is just generally a very tight time frame. We did do outreach to the board. From the canvas that we had done, it was our understanding that we would be able to have a quorum to at least be able to entertain, to go into a meeting, interview the candidates, and decide next steps. As the chair of the committee had said, the intent was never to have a vote on candidates, but the purpose of having a quorum was for us to at least be able to, once we had actually had the first look, decide what the next steps would be in terms of proceeding, having conversations around voting, having conversations around potentially having a second round of interviews, which I think is critical, because if, to the point where if we're going to be hiring a district manager, especially in light of we haven't had one in 5 years, and the salary is not an insignificant amount of money, I think we owe it to the community and to the board to make sure that we do our due diligence, which means that we shouldn't probably just make an offer based on 20 minutes of conversation with someone. And again, looking back to the point that it was difficult because of the holiday, and we knew that we were going to have a significant portion of the board was not going to be in attendance, to make sure that there was at least another opportunity to do that. So with that being said, part of what I would like for the executive committee to entertain and for the full board to entertain is having a second interview session. In looking at the calendar, we have possible dates of January 4th, 13th, the 20th, and the 21st in terms of dates that aren't conflicting with any other committee meetings or obligations, or I don't believe they have any religious birthdays. But I would like for us to select one of those dates as the date for the second interview. Additionally, I would like to direct for us to direct the district office to send those interview recordings to all members of the board, so that they will have access to that. They will have the opportunity to review those tapes, to see the candidates, see the questions that were asked and the responses, and hopefully be able to generate follow-up questions as well for that second interview meeting. And then the intent would be after that, or at least this is something the board should be able to decide. I think that by the end of that second meeting, we would like to develop, we would like to come up with a process for actually engaging a successful candidate to become district manager. And part of the reason why I want us to be careful in this is that I want to avoid a scenario, or a number of scenarios. One where we engage a candidate and they, for some reason or another, are not able to pass a successful background check, which kind of limits us or really brings us back to the drawing board in a number of ways. And I want to be very careful about that, so I want us to be deliberate about that prospect. Also, I think that it's important for us to make sure that we're giving enough time. So from the time we actually decide on a candidate, we are able to engage them, create an offer, negotiate a salary, and have a confirmation vote at the January meeting. So that is the intent. That's what I am looking for the board, the executive committee, to entertain, to bring to the full board as well, in terms of those items that we should discuss. And I want to make sure that we're clear. The executive committee and myself personally are not taking or trying to usurp any responsibility or authority from the board. I think it's very clear in terms of what the board's responsibility is and what the purview of is the board in terms of hiring. The only thing that I think we want to do and I think this is something we've decided actually since last November when we voted on a process that was outlined in open meeting. We wanted to make sure that it was very clear and we were all on board in terms of how this process was going to play out, make sure that the documentation was maintained, make sure that there was an understanding of the process, to make sure that all applicable rules and regulations were observed, to make sure that privacy was respected as well to the greatest extent possible, as well as making this a transparent process. I remain committed to this. I believe I speak for our executive committee in terms of we remain committed to this as well. I'm very confident that and optimistic that we are going to be able to hire a DM after this. We just need to make sure that we are diligent and responsible and deliberate in terms of bringing this across the finish line. That concludes my my chairman's report. Are there any questions?
Fred, it's Amy. Just quickly.
Oh, hold on. We got a few. Hold on one second. Okay. Let's try this. Those who can raise hands, if you can. All right.
I have one. I have a question. I had to unmute myself.
Okay, no problem. Hold on. I see Fran. I see, who else?
Amy.
Amy, I see you. Are there any of the board members with questions?
I'll have one later after those people.
Is that Pat?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ms. Boyd, I saw you as well. Are there any other questions after that? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close on Ms. Boyd after that. Okay, Fran.
Yes. On the based on what went on last night, I liked Pat how she had her questions formatted, and I think it's either her or somebody has mentioned it last night. Can we have set questions for the candidates, because it's like the questions were just coming left field from all over. So if you could have set questions and have individuals and give them out to people that they can ask the candidates, because Pat asked each person the very same question and look to see what the answer that should be getting. And I think that we should try to do the same thing and have the questions set for each candidate, and different people would be asking those questions.
With regards, so you're saying that we're limited to only a certain amount of set questions?
Fred, can I say something? Fran, to address your point, the initial interview for all candidates that we interviewed were, I think, 10, 12 were selected and 10 were actually interviewed. We had set questions. We, as a committee, we came up with a set of 8 to 10 questions, and we asked every candidate that. So when you do view the initial interviews for each candidate, you will see everybody was asked the same question. Last night was a chance for the board, the full board, whoever showed up to the meeting, to ask questions that they may have. So there wasn't any sort of formulation of or kind of in concert to get everybody to agree on questions, because they were diverse candidates. They had different backgrounds, and there's a diverse population on the board, and they may have different concerns representing different committees. So that probably worked best. But to your point, I think it's very good that we not just leave it to chance to see what kind of questions are asked, especially if this is going to be a second round of interviews. So maybe we have at least one question that's standard across all candidates to clarify something that's important to us. But then again, let kind of people decide what's important for them and get a particular candidate to answer a particular question.
Okay. Right. Well,
I saw the question.
Amy,
yeah.
Amy, yes, go ahead, Amy.
So my question is, again, it seemed like we had a slim quorum when we started our call yesterday, and of course people dropped off. Again, who's to say that's not going to happen in January? So I was going to say, how are you addressing this? I mean, it kind of behooves us to hang on to the end, especially if we're going to have a roll call and we need to have those people on the call to go forward.
Yeah, no, and I think that's first of all, that's a great question. And I think that part of it came to, there was a number of factors. One, I think it was always a tough proposition having it, they had it because of the holidays and a bunch of competing things. So one of the hopes is that we're past the holiday season when we actually do the second session. So I'm hoping that, that's one of the expectations where it's like, it's less. One of the reasons why I'm proposing dates now is because if we can advertise it now, it gives board members more than enough time to make sure that schedules are cleared, to make sure that they're available to see this process all the way through. In terms of, if there's any conflicts that need to be cleared, now is the time to do that. Hopefully we can decide for that, at least, come up with a proposal date, we can adopt that at the general board date. The other thing that happened is, again, and then going back to the fact that because it was a tough date, one of the things that, two things happened. One, I think from the very outset, we weren't going to hold, as strictly with regards to attendance. So people weren't being penalized for not showing up at the special meeting. The second interview, though, will be a different situation because of the time frame, because of the advance notice, because of the significance of this in terms of there are expected actions after this. Where yes, we're going to be holding board members accountable for making sure that they show up for the meeting and stay throughout the meeting. One of the things I know that we don't like long meetings. I don't like them either. But there are times when we are members of the community board where we need to make the sacrifice to make sure we are there wire to wire, because there's information that has to be transmitted, and there are actions that have to be taken. So that expectation is going to be transmitted during the full board meeting on Thursday, and particularly once we, if we adopt, if we adopt a motion in terms of the second meeting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Pat, did you have? I think you had something as well.
Yes, but I just wanted to say, well, I personally think the search committee done a really good job. However, we should have had in our possession, we should have had minutes from all of the meetings, and then we should have had a chart with numbers on the candidates. If it was 100, they rejected 50. We had that particular chart. And it's my understanding from the last 5 years that the search committee basically is the people that really interview the candidates, and they are referring who they feel is the best to the executive board, who in turn votes to bring it to the full board. That's it. And so I don't understand what all this other stuff going on is all about. That's what I basically want to say. And I also feel that board members should have a right to at least ask one question that they feel that they want to ask. And the reason is because, when you're listening to, it's different when you ask everybody the same thing. But when you're listening to somebody talk, like we found out that one young lady didn't have really any experience. So you really need to be specific. And the reason I'm saying this, and I may sound like it's hard, I would hate to see a person come in who has absolutely no experience, and then we have to turn around and have the assistant district manager train them, and I wouldn't feel good about that. And that's why I feel that whoever that person should be, and you got some pretty decent candidates there, should be a person that at least have some knowledge on how to operate something. Don't come in talking about, which I found out, I'm waiting to be trained. You get trained somewhere else. That's all I gotta say.
Right. I think upon the conclusion, and Madam Chair, I'll leave it to you. I think upon the conclusion of the interviews, I believe that there will be opportunity to discuss the relative merits. So points will be able to be made. There will be discussion. But I think as we do, when there's a motion on the floor, or there's something for us to consider, we'll have the conversation, but we will actually make a decision at a certain particular point when all the conversation is done. And to your point, I think that, I think all board members, that's why I'm really pushing for those materials to be made available. And to your point, I think all those materials can be made available to all board members. So if you have an interest in those numbers, if you have an interest in documentation, those things can be obtained through the district office. All you need to do is just contact them and let them know what you're interested in, and they can make that available. Madam Chair, if we can also work through, I guess,
Yes.
maybe an executive summary towards the end, which really kind of encapsulates your entire process. You can talk about, from the high level, how many resumes you got. You can, include the matrix you developed in terms of how you're doing it, rubric, how you came to your final four, and all that material can be made available as well. That'll create a package that's going to be documented at the end of this, because as an agency, we do need to make sure that, for this hiring process, we do maintain certain documentation. But I think that I'm very comfortable with the work that the committee's done in terms of we have all the information we need to make a decision at the end of the day.
I just have one more thing to say. It's not about that committee. It's about the committees in general. I'm beginning to feel that it's very unfair that the rest of us always show up at meetings, and I don't see no minutes from nobody else except for maybe 2 or 3 committees. And then other people just don't show up, or they show up at regular meetings. I don't think it's fair. And I'm also looking at your executive committee where half of them don't even show up. So I really think that needs to be addressed. If you're not going to be on a certain committee, you need to just step back. Don't be chair of anything. That's how I feel. And I'm not saying it for anybody personally. I'm just saying, if you say to me, we got to be at meetings, and I'm telling all my people, you know what, you got to be at meetings, and I'm taking attendance, and everybody else don't show up, and then people invent their own 2 chairs for a meeting. I mean, come on. I really would like you to address that as the chair. That's why I'm saying that to you. Please address that.
Duly noted. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Boyd, you have the final question, and we close on.
I'm just a little confused, Fred, about this timeline, because first you were saying that there are 4 particular dates in which someone is going to decide, and I'm not sure when that decision is supposed to happen, to have a second set of interviews. And then and some of those dates were past the general board meeting in January, but then you stated that you want to be able to have some kind of interview with the final candidate before so I'm just, if you can just show me, the public, how you're supposed to be progressing. Are you presenting something on Thursday and asking the community board to vote for something? And what is that? And then are you asking for something else? I just need a little clarity on it.
Okay. So the proposal, and I will actually probably entertain a formal motion on this based on the things, characteristics I've outlined. 4 dates we can possibly have interviews, which would be the 4th, 13th, 20th, and the 21st of January. So those are the 4 open dates. With that being said, I think that I would like to entertain a motion for second interviews to be conducted on January 4th. And the reason why I say that is because if we have the conversation on January 4th, 1, we've cleared the holidays. 2, we have an opportunity to hear from all 4 candidates and vote potentially at that meeting. And if we are able to actually determine a candidate we want to proceed with and extend an offer, it gives us enough opportunity to extend the offer to the candidate, have them accept, and additionally go through any background checks and that are necessary in terms of being able to secure the position. Because one of the things, again, to the point where I don't want to say, yeah, we want to hire so-and-so, and you find out that for some reason they're disqualified and they can't take the position. So the idea being, if we're doing it in early January, it would give us 2 to 3 weeks in terms of being able to extend the offer, negotiate as necessary, have the background check completed and done with Borough Hall, and present before the board for an actual formal hiring, where we present a motion in open public to the candidate themselves, as well as the salary that we're going to be paying. So the idea being a motion January 4th with an ultimate vote that will happen in the January meeting. Should everything go for this case.
Okay, so Fred, I do want you to refer back to the lawsuit that we filed, because that have to happen with money must be discussed in an open meeting. It cannot be discussed behind closed doors. And please,
No, that's
but
not
let me
correct.
finish.
Oh, no, finish the point, man.
Let me finish. So it's really important if you are about to now engage in a process of negotiating a salary for a potential candidate, that negotiations between the board members has to be done in a public setting. You can discuss, obviously, their qualifications behind closed doors, but the negotiations of that fee has to be discussed in a meeting. So it would appear to me that you would need a subsequent meeting if you're going to do this particular thing, because it's my understanding now that you're having a special meeting that you're requiring everybody to attend. That will be an interview meeting, but at the end of the day, there will be a vote on who people want as a district manager. If I'm understanding that correctly, then that happens on January 4th. And then there's a negotiation point where it's going to be negotiated how to give, what to offer this person, but that has to be after, and just let me if I'm wrong, after this person has been vetted, making sure that this person can be hired, that there's no after a background check. That would then mean another meeting would have to occur, because it would have to be an open meeting for you to discuss how much money you want to sit there and give someone and the rationale for that, and then a vote to offer that money to that person on that. Or do you plan on, because you can't do the negotiations behind closed doors.
You can. The only thing that is required for the open meetings law is the vote to actually spend public monies happen in public session, which is why the name of the person as well as the salary will be voted on in public session. The discussion can happen in executive session.
The discussion about
money,
the discussion
can be done,
about money,
yes, but the actual allocation has to happen in public session. That's something that's already been cleared with Corporation
about
Council.
money, why you has to be done in an open forum, Fred.
The discussion, no. And you can, but that has already been cleared. That is already a point that has been determined. It is the actual vote.
Who has determined that, Fred?
Through conversation with Corporation Council.
Well, why not, does Corporation Council have it in writing?
The conversation was had with Corporation Council.
Yes.
If you choose to dispute that, you can absolutely dispute that, but that is something that we have already vetted. It's a question that has already come up. But if you check open meetings law, the requirement is any monies, any public monies that are going to be expended by the public have to be voted on in open session. The discussion doesn't have to happen in open session.
The discussion is not protected by the open meetings law. The discussion is protected by the open.
It is. Ms. Boyd, I mean, this is something that, we've taken a great deal of time. This is the process that I'm proposing for the board. So with that being said, I'm going to, what I'm proposing is a meeting on January 4th, and this will be voted on by the full board. Special meeting on January 4th to meet the candidates. A vote on candidates. A vote on candidates to decide who to extend an offer of employment and negotiate salary. Pending successful completion of background check. I'm sorry, hold on one second.
Okay.
Okay. Depending on successful completion of background check.
Fred, can I add something to that?
Go ahead.
I think one thing that was discussed was making the video available to the members who didn't attend the first meeting. And for that information to be disseminated so no one missed anything. And that should be part of the process.
Great. And I'm just writing this down. I'll read it out, and we'll have an opportunity for the motion can be made and we can have discussion if there's still question. Background check.
And Fred, if I could say something, I just want to, you were in the meeting. Having 4 candidates speak again in a second interview is a long process unless there's some sort of framework around the second interview. Again, if all the board members who've missed it watch all the videos, perhaps they only need 1 question. But if you're going to have a second interview and then a vote to see who goes forward, and then another vote to, whatever it is, those 3 components of one meeting, you're talking at least a 3-hour meeting. So I don't know how you want to structure it to keep it like within the time frame.
Well, point well taken. Now, my thought is this. With regards to, one, I think that first point is we don't have to recreate the wheel or hash over old ground. The interviews will be made available to all members. So if you were there and want to refresh your memory, you'll have access to that. If you were not there, obviously, like I said, we're not penalizing you, but this gives you at least a good full 2 or 3 weeks where you can go through the interviews, see what questions were asked, you can see what the commentary was from the candidates, and their responses. So I think in that respect, you haven't missed you haven't missed necessarily that much. The second interview gives you an opportunity. If you were somebody who was there at that first meeting, now you can ask a follow-up question if there was something you needed clarity on. If you weren't there, you still have access to what was asked, and you still have an opportunity to ask a question of the candidates as well. So it shouldn't be a first look for anybody. This will be a second look. Obviously, I think for the first one, the way it was structured, it took a little bit more time for candidates. Because these are really follow-up questions, I don't believe we need as much time. I would probably say a set floor of maybe about 10 minutes, maximum, I think, of maybe 15 minutes. I don't think we should exceed that in terms of these are really follow-up questions. And if we go to the level of 15 minutes, that's an hour of questions, and then we at least have an hour of debate and discussion on candidates, which I think could be sufficient. And even if we went to an hour and a half, which I hope it doesn't.
Should we ask that people submit questions in advance, since you know the 4 candidates are going to be there and you've already viewed the other videos before the meeting starts, so we don't have repetitive questions. We don't have a lot of people wanting to ask questions, and and say, like, you have it a little bit more structured. If every candidate speaks 15 minutes, maybe you solicit from the board members, please submit your questions via email to me or the office, the Friday, whatever, the Wednesday before, whatever it is. Questions for each candidate. You don't have to ask every candidate a question. You don't have to ask the same question. You could ask 1 question to 1 candidate, and that's it. But then that way you can compile a list of questions that need to get to each, and then you can know if it's going to be more than 15 minutes. If you want to cut something out, if there's duplication, et cetera, et cetera.
I would say this.
Fred, can I interrupt for a second?
Well, let me answer, then I'll definitely give you the floor. Hold on.
Okay.
I think that I do like the idea of being able to give questions in advance, because it allows for the chair of the committee to see how much interest there is. They can kind of measure the time in that respect. But at the same time, I do like the idea of giving people the opportunity to say, I have a question based on something you just said. You responded in a particular way, and now I have at least a follow-up question. So I think it gives it that kind of flexibility. But to that point, but that's where I think that it's going to come down to, and we'll work with the committee and the chair as well, in terms of making sure that we keep it tighter, understanding that, listen, we don't have 5 minutes to develop a question, and the candidates don't get 20 minutes to answer it because you only get 10 or 15. Warren, I'm sorry, you said you had a point.
No, that was essentially what I was going to say, is that by having a set of questions, as well as denying our board members to react to the statements that are made at the presentation, I don't think that's fair. And the second thing is that, sometimes we have a 3-hour meeting, and it's something that has been usual in the past, that if the business of the board requires a certain amount of time, then the board members have an obligation to participate.
Warren, I would just say that, you're speaking to the choir right now. We are not the people who
So-
don't stay the 3 hours. It's the people
I
who
know,
are
so
not showing up at this meeting that
Yeah,
don't
but we
stay 3
can't,
hours.
Amy, I appreciate what you're saying and I respect it. But people, look, our board members are not appointed by us. Our board members are appointed by 3 different entities. And
I'm
and
not
those,
arguing.
listen, just listen for a second, okay?
Realist, that's all. Just a
Just
realist.
listen, if people who don't participate, we've now been operating 3 months, and we are going through in terms of the administrative office of going through who's who attended, who didn't attend it. But per our bylaws, we had to reach the 3-month limit. I agree with you totally, and I appreciate all the participation.
Regarding,
but we do
you know,
have-
both
but
the
we do
written
have
question
rules.
and the open-ended question. So I'm there, so we're not arguing.
Okay.
No, I agree.
All right, so listen,
I agree
but
with you.
we do, okay, but
that's all.
everyone, but we need to move this because we do have we have a time constraint that we have to deal with. All right, so, okay, with that being said, I will entertain a motion to, 1, disseminate, the materials, the interview materials to all members of Report 9. 2, to convene a special meeting, for the purpose of the second interview for the candidates for the district manager position on January 4th. 3, to schedule a second interview for candidates on January 4th with the potential for a vote on a candidate, with the potential on a vote to extend an offer to a candidate dependent on the successful completion of background check, for the background check.
So moved.
All right, I have the motion. Do I have a second?
Accept.
Vivi, is that a second?
Yep.
So it's been moved and
Fred, can
seconded.
we just take a vote, an attendance for a second?
Okay,
Sure,
so before we do that, let me just say, Pat had a great question that she asked all candidates. And I think that we should do the same, like everyone should have one question. So that was good. And I want to thank Warren also for heading the meeting. I've been out with some personal stuff going on, and I'm trying to attend, on a regular. So I just want to say thank you to Warren for holding it down.
Okay. All right, and thank you very much. Okay, so, but I definitely want to make sure we get this. So we have it moved and we have seconded. Is there any discussion in terms of this?
Yeah, I just want to know, so in terms of the entire board on how we're going to vote on the candidate, that think that has to be at at our meeting this time? How are we going to vote? I mean, how are we going to do that?
I think I want to give the committee some time. We asked the chair to kind of look through the options in terms of voting. I think we have time to actually make that decision when we actually get to the special meeting. You know what? Yeah, actually, we do have that option to make that.
We as a board need to have the option. The committee presented their people already. So we need as the board, because, and I'm going to say this again, we have the right to, so let's just say they presented 4 people that was garbage, and which you didn't, they were great candidates. We have a right to say we don't want none of them. And when you interview, to me, you went for an interview for a job, they don't say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, and 4. They say, yo, this is the best person. Let's offer that person the job.
No, absolutely. But I want to make sure we're moving on, but thank you for the point. Okay, are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, we're going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Can we do a roll call, Fred? Can we do a roll call?
Absolutely.
Roll call vote?
I don't have a roll call for the exec.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, I'll call the members. So, so for the chair, I vote yay. Warren Burke.
Yes.
Francisco Leopold.
Yes.
Debbie Timothy. Absent. Is Debbie here?
No.
Okay, absent. Alejandra Carballo,
Yes.
okay. Evelyn Williams,
No.
okay. And Vivian Morgan,
Yes.
okay. Alejandra, what's the count? What do you have?
We have 5 yeses, 1 no, 1 absence. The motion carries.
Motion carries. All right, this will be presented to the board for a vote on Thursday to approve this process. Last, so thank you very much for that. Moving on, we are just going to adopt the agenda for the meeting. So, Alejandra, we're going to do some speed writing. All right, so we have public session. Call to order. We have, I'm sorry, Mia, do we have any presentations? Any groups that are presenting? All right,
Just the SLA.
Okay, so then we'll move on. So we'll put in SLA applications. 2 applications that were identified by the APM. After the SLA applications, we're going to have public commentary, 30 minutes. After that, we have acknowledgements. And then that will conclude public session. Then we're going to go into the business session. Business session, we're going to have a roll call. We're going to have approval of minutes. We are going to have committee reports. We're going to have, I don't believe the treasurer is going to have a report for this month. If she does, we'll allow her to speak at that time. We're going to have chairman's report. We'll have voting items. After that, old business or unfinished business. We will have new business. And then we'll have adjournment. Are there any additions that need to be made to this agenda, this proposed agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt this agenda.
Agenda as
I have been moved by Francisco Leopold. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Warren Burke. We're going to call the question. All those in favor of the agenda as stated, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing no opposition. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Okay, so the motion carries that we have adopted the agenda for the meeting coming this Thursday. All right, is there any other business that we need to discuss before we adjourn? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Boyd, I did see your commentary. I will respond to you separately with regards to the actual language that allows me to chair the committee.
And how are you going to do that? You're going to call me or?
I'll send you an email.
Okay.
I can send you an email, or if you want, yeah, I mean, I'll get in touch with you. I'll let you know exactly the language, but I'll get in touch.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. With that being said, I want to thank everyone for their time and commitment. A lot of hard work, and it's showing and it's being recognized. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 The ayes have it. We stand adjourned. The time is now 9:28 p.m. Everyone, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Everyone
and
have a-
see you on Thursday.
Have a great
Yeah,
evening.
stay safe. Stay well.
And thank you
everyone.
all for your participation and Fred for his leadership.
Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Appreciate it.
Good night, everybody.
Take care, everyone.